Tonight we're playing some more high competitive level Magic Online recorded straight for YouTube. We're trying to qualify for the same event, the Modern Showcase. We failed to do so in the Modern Showcase Challenge that we recorded for YouTube on Sunday. We went 5-2 in that event. We needed to go 8-1. It's very, very tough to get in, and the quality of players is usually pretty high. This is the last chance qualifier. We need to win 5 rounds in a row. If we do that, we're in. If we lose a single round, we're out. I've decided instead of playing the Soul Trader build, to play the green black Yawgmoth variant, which I built today, and it went really well on stream today. We instead of being a black based where you're playing the Soul Trader combo, obviously, we're trying to have access to more turn 2 airships with Flare of Cultivation. You can go turn 2 airship in a lot of ways, either like Green Sun Zenith for Arbor, tap Arbor for a mana, Phyrexian Tower into play, or you can go Grazer, Flare of Cultivation Grazer into turn 2 airship, or just Grazer, Phyrexian Tower airship. Today we actually went Young Wolf, Flare Young Wolf, and then Flare Young Wolf again to play airship on turn 2, which was a way I didn't know. You can also go like Young Wolf, Flare, then Tower. It's like you just have a lot of ways to cast airship on turn 2, which is really, really powerful. In addition to the creature combo of having Yawgmoth plus 2 Young Wolves, lets you just sacrifice Young Wolves over and over and over for cards. Eventually, you can Green Sun Zenith for Obelisk Spider, which says whenever a -1 counter goes on a creature, you drain your opponent for 1 life. This also goes infinite with Hapatra. Whenever you put a -1 creature, a counter on a creature, you get a 1/1 spider creature. You can sack that to put another counter to trigger this spider. Sorry, this is a snake token, not a spider token. And so Hapatra goes infinite with spider. That's already a good reason to include it, but it also is just going to be a way for you to mow your opponent's creatures down when you have Yawgmoth in play. Again, it's important to play Spider over your usual like Sephiroth or Blood Artist in this deck because we're not playing Chord of Calling. We're playing Green Sun Zenith as our tutor target. Chord of Calling, while it's really good that it can get Yawgmoth in this deck, when you're sacrificing your stuff to Flare of Cultivation, you're sacking your stuff to Tower. Chord of Calling doesn't really play nearly as well. We're also playing another avatar card besides Phoenix-Fleet Airship. We're playing Badger Cub. This card has just kind of immediately become a Yawgmoth staple. There's another build of Yawgmoth that's really in on Agatha's Soul Cauldron and on Dredger's Insight and Walking Ballista for other infinite loops and really focused on the infinite loops. I do think that deck is good, but I think that what the grindy value that Airship offers is better, and it's very hard to include both plans in your build. And I think I've been a lot happier just like being more focused on the Airship plan, and I've even just been boarding out the combo in a lot of matchups, kind of like the Soul Trader deck, but I just kind of board out the Hapatra, I board out the Obelisk, I trim some combo elements, and I just play a grindy green-black deck against like Jeskai and Blink decks, and it's been a pretty good strategy, similar to the Soul Trader build. At the moment, I actually think this is the better deck, but it's hard to say that for sure without a bigger sample size. I hope you'll join me on this journey. We need to win all 5 matches to qualify. Wish me luck. Okay, we're on the draw for round 1 in the last chance qualifier. I think I'm down enough to try to either go Green Sun into Arbor and play Grist on turn. Oh wait, the Arbor's in my opening hand. Okay, well, let's mulligan. This hand completely falls apart with that being the case. And then what's fun about this hand is we can actually put the Dryad Arbor back into our deck pre-London mulligan. That would have been a non-starter there. We're on the draw against a Snow-Covered Swamp and a Thoughtseize. Interesting. Doesn't exactly mean anything specific, at least the snow-covered part. It's possible that our opponent is playing something like Soul Trader combo and they just selected snow-covered swamps. Just the basic swamp itself would kind of lead me to think it's something like a more of a mono black deck than anything else, like a Cabal Coffers, not just like Gorios that drew their one of basic swamp, because that's a lot less likely. They end up taking the Grist instead of the Green Sun, so I do still have a turn 1 play available. Now I've got a turn 2 play if they kill my Arbor. Although I will say I wasn't super likely to just Phyrexian Tower to play Yawgmoth on turn 2. Although I am kind of hoping I draw an Airship and I can just tap this for a green, sack this, and cast a turn 2 Airship. So maybe just Dimir Frog. They pay some life. Is this a Bitter Triumph? Bitter Triumph, wow. Don't see that card very often these days. Draw another copy of Rumble. Let's go ahead and get ready to Rumble. Cast it. And I guess we'll go ahead and take this Agatha's Soul Cauldron and put another copy of Yawgmoth in the graveyard. So we've got a Yawgmoth and a Grist we can Cauldron. Really, really good hit off the Rumble. thanks to our opponent for thought seizing our grist. All right, they go ahead and play it. Undercity Sewers tapped. Now, notably, they don't have a counter spell or counter spell up. They could have something like Snare or Force of Negation, though. Sorry, I should not be F6 because my opponent could Bowmaster my spawn token, and I would want to sack the spawn token in response so they don't get a an orc. It seems like they're trying to do something. They put a Preordain in the graveyard. And then they pass to me. I'm going to be jamming the Cauldron first so I can play around Spell Pierce. I've been liking Spell Pierce a lot lately, personally. All right, I cast Agatha Soul Cauldron. Resolve. So I'm going to go try to Cauldron the Grist first. It's better to start making a board of creatures, of course, before you before you play the Yawgmoth, so you can sack the creatures for cards. And you know, I'm really happy that my opponent Fatal pushed the spawn token, and I just have something good to get off of it. And I'm going to take the Phoenix-Fleet Airship. Card is, of course, phenomenal in these kind of matchups. It's this game has gone about as well, I think, as it possibly could have. Maybe they'll do something like cast a big Murktide this turn. Even if they do that, we're not really feeling like we're in bad shape, but... Huh. Okay. I mean, I can work with this, I suppose. So let's go Cauldron Yawgmoth. And then I can go plus to make a token. Oh my, oop, thank goodness I can undo. It's a second. I made a mistake similar to this when I was recording the last video, funny enough. And then I can go proliferate the -1 counter that's on the Harbinger. I guess we'll discard the Yawgmoth. We can spin mana as if it were any color because of the Cauldron. Although, let's actually go ahead and play the Overgrown Tomb now, because it'll enter untapped because there's the Harbinger in play. So a nice way to save 2 life points. So we'll go and add an extra -1 counter, and I'll add an extra +1 counter here. And I'll play the Young Wolf. And I will attack for 2. Try to play around the Harbinger. You know, we're a Flare of Cultivation deck. We have a lot of basics. Not too worried about it overall. Here's the Murktide. Maybe a turn too late. Oh, you know what? We kind of messed up here, actually. We should have sacked the Young Wolf and made another Grist token with it. Let's go ahead and... Oh, I can -2 because I've got 2 counters here. I guess, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and go -2 the spawn token to sack the Young Wolf to kill the Murktide. So you don't often -2 with the Cauldron Grist. Can be kind of easy thing to miss. And then we'll go make an insect token. Use that insect token to reset the Young Wolf. And then sack the Young Wolf again. And then this is going to enter with a new counter, and we can plus again. So we can keep doing this little loop-de-doop for a little bit if we want. And we can try to draw a Green Sun Zenith for a Spider to win the game. And I think I'm down to do this at least a couple more times. I want to do this at least... Oh, so I keep doing this. I mean, it's kind of hard to click through. I want to do this at least a couple more times, because if we can win this game without showing our opponent Airship, like maybe something like they have a Hercules Recall in their deck, and they would maybe just not bring it in. Maybe I should explain this loop too. So it's not the least complicated. So what's happening is I have Yawgmoth's activated ability, right? And each time, what I'm doing is I am sacking the Young Wolf so it undies, and when it comes back to play, it's kind of treated as a new object with a +1 counter. And this new object with a +1 counter, although have I milled over the spider? I have to watch out for that. This new object can make a new insect, and I can sack that insect to put a -1 counter on the young wolf. And then I can just do the loop again. Now, I don't want to die to like a bowmaster. And I need to watch for, so we milled the Green Sun Zenith. It's -1 Green Sun to draw into. Is it good maybe to play the mortuary now? I think I'll do it after like one more draw. A little bit arbitrary, I guess. Okay. Okay, there's probably just enough cards that we're kind of at the point we're kind of at the point of diminishing returns. Like if we actually just draw 5 more cards and we don't find a Green Sun Zenith to combo with the spider, it seems like we might actually just be at that point where we could maybe lose a game that otherwise isn't particularly losable. So let's just kind of keep this game unlosable and play the airship, which our opponent probably knows we're on airship anyways. Gonna play in the grazer here so that we can dump our hand a little bit more because we are gonna have to go to discard. I'm just gonna discard these 3 lands. Should be fine. This is last chance qualifier. You got to play tight. I think this did maybe work out against our favor because we showed our opponent a lot of the deck, but I was just trying not to show them airship. Okay, on the draw against Dimir Frog. We saw Murktide, so Fatal Push isn't as good here against the versions that play only like Oculus and Bowmaster, Tomio, Frog. Push should still be pretty good. Basically any deck without a combo, I'm pretty interested in just cutting my combo cards and just playing a longer grindy game plan. I usually don't want to play the endurance. And so you could also play Bring in Cauldron if this is a matchup where Graveyard Hate matters a lot. Now this is a matchup where Graveyard Hate matters a little bit because they're a Murktide deck. They might have Unearth, but I'd say it's not super likely they play Unearth. Cauldron is also just kind of a good card in general against Dimir. It's like really resilient and hard for them to deal with. So I think I'm going to go ahead and bring in 3 Fatal Pushes and the Cauldron. Not really going to look too much again for the Endurance, which was in the main deck. I cut it. I don't think you like to bring in Thoughtseize too much. It's okay to fight through Counter Magic, but I think you're good enough at like just playing around Counter Magic that I don't think you really need this. I think I'm going to go ahead and go down a Grazer, and then let's go to game 2. But that looked pretty good that game. Okay, let's keep this on the draw for game 2 against Dimir Murktide. Nothing too crazy, like no turn 2 airships, but just having a bunch of cheap early cards, ramp spells, card selection. This is totally fine. 7, especially against a Thoughtseize deck. One on top, one on bottom. Great to draw top end payoff here. Although with the maybe we should have played Mortuary turn 1. Although I'm kind of okay not playing this till turn 4. Like just playing Cub this turn and like maybe Cub plus Rumble next turn. I think that's totally fine. Like being able to maybe chump block a Frog this turn is not something I mind either. We drew a Cauldron. I'm gonna go ahead and play a Cub this turn. I guess we want to target the forest. I don't think it really matters a lot. I would just, maybe this is actually the opposite, but your opponent can like kill your Earthbended land on your upkeep and then kind of like tap it for the turn, like they were tapping with a Fire Ice, and that seems to be the only real consideration on like which one to target here. Because you always get a green extra with the Cub. We're playing mostly at sorcery speed. If you had Bowmaster in your deck, like leaving up the swamp would be more of a consideration. Like, are you more likely to want to leave up just swamp or not? But Not the biggest deal overall. I'm gonna go ahead and block with the frog here, so with the wolf. Notably, they did not fly the frog to avoid this jump block. Then they have 5 cards in their hand. They go ahead and fatal push the cub. So typically how you want to sequence this is you want to leave your mana dork or earthbent land in play when you cast the cub, especially when you have 2 drops in your hand, especially because you want your opponent to not be able to stop you from making 2 mana. So here we're able to make 2 mana. We could, it's maybe a good spot to jam the Cauldron and just get that resolved. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's the case. Being able to maybe being able to jump block with the spawn token's a little bit better. But I think I'm actually gonna just get a little bit aggressive. Like my opponent's already at 13, and we can put them down to 10 with this attack. It's just that's like a pretty big headache for them. Now I'm a bit worried we haven't found green mana yet. We'll see. But I guess I kind of jump past myself a little bit here because if you don't leave the forest up when you earthbend, your opponent can respond to you earthbending your untapped land, and they can kill the Badger Mole before that land gets to tap for 2 mana. All right, opponent's casting a Preordain. I'm a little bit scared of my opponent casting a Murktide and then me not finding a second black for Yawgmoth or Grist, but like, you know, it's kind of narrow because like I guess maybe if they also have like Murktide plus push this turn, that's kind of scary. Seems like they're thinking about flying the frog. I am not going to block, taking just 1 down to 18. Interesting, they didn't decide to discard any cards. I did feel like this was a game that might just devolve down to they're trying to race me with frog plus Murktide, and they don't have a Murktide or another land. So obviously that pans out pretty good for us. This Badger Mole Cub is mana positive, so we might as well cast it. If it gets countered, I think that ends up being pretty good bait. So now we have 6 mana available to us. Let's go. We only have 1 black though. Let's go and start off with this Rumble. Obviously, binning to Yawgmoths is really nice. I'm a little bit worried about. Surgical Extraction. I've played a lot of this deck today, and I had like almost all my opponents boarded in Surgical against me, which was a little bit surprising. So I guess I'm not gonna take the airship. I think I'm gonna take the Windswept Teeth, and I'm gonna try to play around Surgical by casting Yawgmoth before I Cauldron Yawgmoth, because it does seem to me that taking the Surgical Extraction could be a way to lose this game, and it is just important that you figure out how you could lose a game that otherwise looks unlosable, right? And then if they counter the Yawgmoth, this is kind of a very weird play. Oh, haven't seen Wild Rose Rebellion. I'm assuming this is Final Fantasy. I don't know. It looks kind of sick. So if they do have Surgical Extraction, when we go to Cauldron the Yawgmoth, this is still on the stack, and Surgical doesn't get rid of it. Again, that's not even like likely something that will end up mattering here, but you just gotta play really tight, and like in these spots where you're really ahead, it's very important you ask yourself, how do I lose this game? And then sometimes your opponent tells you how you how you lose the game the hard way. That's not something you want to try to find out, but unfortunately, sometimes it's something your opponent tells you. All right, let's go ahead and see how hard they want to fight this fight. They don't want to fight it. They don't want these hands. All right, they're at 4 life. I'm just gonna pass back. They do find another land. It's a Hallowed Fountain, tapped. Is this a Toxic Deluge? They're dead if they deluge. Yeah, because we can go reset the young wolf. I guess we'll just go draw some cards. Oh, sorry, I forgot it had 2 counters. We have to do another counter. But this should win, and we also get to draw a lot of cards, which is a good combination. Surgical Extraction doesn't do it anymore. Opponent's just going to make me attack for a 2. Oh, they don't. Okay, we're 1-0. Nice start. 4 more rounds, and we qualify. Let's do our best. Okay, so some good news, bad news. We're on the play for round 2. Saying it's totally fine if we just draw land. We can go turn 1 Green Sun into, or if we don't, even if we don't draw land, we can go Green Sun into Grazer. Sorry, Green Sun into Arbor, and then cast the Rumble, and then maybe cast the Grazer, and then maybe cast the Airship next turn. Now, if our Arbor dies on turn 1 and we don't draw land or a Flare of Cultivation, this is kind of a nightmare, but we have 21 lands and 3 Flare of Cultivations, and the Arbor has to die for this to really end up being a bad keep. So I think it's just a keep on the play in the blind. We'll see. Let me know if you'd mulligan this. They've got a Flooded Strand. Untap Sacred Foundry. Want to see a creature? Nice. Okay, cool. Best draw is Phyrexian Tower, so you can play Airship turn 2. Okay, not quite that lucky. But nor would I expect to be nearly that lucky. Yeah, let's go ahead and play. I guess we'll do the normal sequencing. They could theoretically have Solitude. I have been Solitude by both Boros and like weird hybrids of like Jeskai enough times recently that I think I should cast the Cub here. We'll go and cast the Rumble. And then we'll take the Phyrexian Tower. And pass back and get an Airship online next turn. Feeling pretty good about our spot. Interesting how long our opponent took on their first turn. Like, if possible, they have like a Ragavan, and they didn't think the Ragavan would be a good attacker next turn after I had played the Arbor, so they decided to play the Guide instead. Maybe they have like got 2 Ocelot Prides in their hand and also Galvanic Discharge, and they're like, I think I'll just go for the big creature play instead of Galvanic Discharging the Dryad Arbor. Hard to say. Also, sometimes I can have a habit of reading too much into these kind of situations, but I tend to think that reading into this stuff is better than not. Yeah, I think this spawn token's what's getting sacked here, and then we'll just play our hand. No reason to hold lands in the stack. No good attacks with the Cub. Just sit back, relax, and let Phoenix-Fleet Airship take over the game. Hopefully. Right, so they've got an Arena of Glory. They got 5 cards in their hand. They're tapping out pretty quick. They cast a Flage. So they're going to target the Badger-Yawg Cub, I imagine. And this is good news, because unless they somehow have a Solitude, we've got good blocks. Yeah, so we should see no attacks here. I mean, even if they have a Solitude, we've got good blocks. So they're at 22. We just draw a Swamp. No, I guess you could theoretically proliferate with Yawgmoth, but also my opponent might think I have an instant in my hand, right? I guess I'll crew with the Arbor since this has Undying. Now I guess I could do also this little trick. Trick I found today, although it doesn't really matter too much what I crew with, but you can crew an Airship with a Young Wolf, sacrifice it, and then crew again. So we're actually able to attack for 8 here, while still being able to crew 2 airships on defense. And so this means 8 this turn plus 16 next turn. That's a total of 24 damage. Even if, my opponent's going to be potentially dead even before I get the full 8 airships in play. Now, getting all 8 airships in play would be really nice. Like it's possible I'm supposed to play to that here. We'll kind of go by ear, I suppose. Another Guide of Souls does mean that they're going to have, I guess, now enough life to jump over at least 1 airship, although I could double block something. But enough life where attacking for 16 isn't going to be the move, probably. There's the Ragavan, so that seems to be maybe what they were thinking about on turn 1. Who would win? All the good MH3 cards or one single random standard 4-mana vehicle? Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and end up chumping with the Grazer this turn. Also, not killing the Voice of Victory means that that's 1 less card in the yard for Flage. Right now, the Marsh Flats is representing 2 cards because of the Surveil land, so putting another card in the graveyard would put them pretty dang close to escaping the Flage. Although I guess they're still just a fetch land away from escaping. We could also block. We could block the warrior tokens, but then we open ourselves up to bombardment. We open ourselves up to discharge. I think I can afford to take 2. Seems okay to take 2. They got 3 energy still in the pool. I'm down to 16. It would be nice to draw a spell. Don't always get what you want. Well, at least I don't have to sacrifice anything to trigger the airships. Now, okay, there's a Yawgmoth. Let's keep that on top. So I could like attack for 12 here. The thing is, I'm gonna have next turn 32 points of power. It's gonna be very tough for my opponent to have more than that, and it's also gonna be very tough for me to lose. I think if I just pass here. So yeah, it would be kind of a disaster to attack for 3 and then they just have a removal spell end of turn, and then I can't block anything. That seems to be, to me, the main way we could lose this one. They do go ahead and surveil. I imagine they're really wanting to put almost anything in the graveyard here. They do go to put a Marsh Flats. I imagine that was an easy choice. Okay, so we got our Phoenix-Fleet in play. Card is pretty unbelievable. Wow. Cool. We'll take that. So, kind of like the Soul Trader deck, if you watched Sunday's video, again, and also like last match, you just kind of want to board out the. We're playing against a mid range. We're playing against an interactive deck, which is a huge chunk of the meta. Just cut the Spider, cut the Hapatra, play a grindy game. Now we are bringing in 3 4-drops, and our deck is really good at casting 4-drops. But I think I'm also interested in going down a Yawgmoth. I also think Grist is bad against Boros. End of story. I think you want 1 endurance to Greensun for if they have a Flage in the yard, but that's kind of it. A second Cauldron can be kind of good to control Flage. Also, just, Cauldron and Yawg can be pretty strong too. Although us going down a Yawg kind of hurts that plan. Maybe that's a reason to still play 4 Yawg. We are really good at casting 4-drops in the deck with all the flares and the Badger Cubs and the tower. So maybe it's okay to keep this. I think I'm okay to go down to Green Sun. I'm okay to go down to Young Wolf, and then potentially a Grazer. Potentially a flare. Potentially, let's go down a Cub. Haven't done that before, but I feel like I want to keep at least like 7. I did bring in some extra 1-drop, so it's okay to cut some. But trimming it, I don't want to cut too much of my cheap ramp if I'm going to board in. If I'm going to have 11 4-drops in my deck, But we are on the draw also, so I think this will end up being okay. I played the Boros matchup with this deck twice, and both times Boros had like a really nutty hand, a better hand than our opponent had this time. One time I had a really nutty hand and I won. One time I had a really bad hand and I lost. I guess that's That's the report at the moment. Oh, you could also cut a you could cut a rumble because we're down on permanent hits. That's something I meant to. Someone commented that earlier today when I was playing the deck, and I was like, that's pretty smart. But then I forgot to do the math. Good. Nothing to sack the flare. I guess we'll put back the flare. Maybe setting up for just rumble into culling ritual, and then also maybe if we're lucky, culling ritual into the airship. Um, okay, that was a green, green creature for flare. That's okay though. I'm a little bit conflicted that my opponent didn't play a 1-drop because I'm just so thirsty to go culling ritual into airship, but it's probably for the best that they didn't. Maybe we want to see a Johnny, maybe we don't. No 2-drop either. Well, can't be that bad for us. Also, just casting airship and then casting culling ritual and doesn't kill any of your own stuff. That's certainly not a bad sequence. Although maybe they just have like a random blood moon here. So maybe I should have got forest. We do have a lot of basics in the deck. Thankfully, we also have Cauldron-Yawg. Well, I guess we won't have a lot of creatures. Yeah, maybe they kept just a random blood moon hand on the play. They did go to wait. I went to 6. They kept 7. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, regretting not getting a forest. Hoping to see a seasoned pyromancer. Yes, no blood moon. Great. All right, will they kill the spawn token? I imagine they will. Yeah, so let's go and sack the spawn so they don't gain any life. And then we've got the cauldron ready to go to deal with the flage that's in the yard. Now they only have 4 cards in exile, so we don't need to immediately main phase cauldron the flage. I think I'm down to flare. Well, we could. Yeah, it's really bad if they kill the young wolf and I can't flare here. Although I'm also a little worried that we're gonna be put in a spot where we have nothing to sack for the airship. Probably gonna be okay. Passing back. Certainly, our calling ritual is worse once we've played the cauldron. Right. There's a lightning bolt. I guess they've already played their land for turn, so we don't quite need to use the cauldron. Not really much benefit in waiting either. It's all kind of the same, I guess. Maybe we could have just waited and not played the young wolf this turn. Maybe that was the move. Maybe what my opponent is doing and why this game has been kind of weird is that they are maybe they're holding on to a removal spell for the airship. I think that's something that makes a little bit of sense, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab Badger Mole Cub. Let's try Cauldroning the Yawgmoth, and then if they try to kill Cub in response... I guess if they kill Cub in response, we won't have 4 mana. Oh, we will have 4 mana, sorry. We just 2. Okay, they don't. Yeah, and then let's go ahead and pass. It just seems so likely they've got a removal spell for the airship up. I think instead of attacking here, I might be kind of interested in using Fatal Push plus proliferating. I might proliferate to save my Cub from a flage. I think they'll probably miss this. Yeah. So let's go and let this sacrifice trigger resolve first, and then let's add black and activate Yawgmoth's ability to proliferate. At this point, I'm going to discard the Culling Ritual. Counter, counter. And then my cub lives. Kind of not thinking any. Maybe they have Celestial Purge. That might be like the missing card here. Okay, so let me go ahead and just kill this because they did gain life off the Flage. I'll just kill this with the Yawgmoth ability. Oh, and we get the Surveil again. Forgot about that. Maybe I wonder if I would have missed that in paper. Maybe not. Maybe yes. All right, so let's rumble. We already have the Yawg ability. The Young Wolf is really valuable. Swamp is also nice. Can't go super wrong here. Let's take the Young Wolf. And then play Young Wolf. Cast the Airship. I can reset the Young Wolf by crewing Airship token to get the creature to reset the wolf if I really feel like I need to. We're in great shape. They've got only 2 cards in their hand. I guess if they have something like Galvanic Discharge plus Wrath Disguise as 2 of their last 3 cards, we're like we get to draw 3 cards and then we have another Airship in our hand. So that's like the best possible for them in the situation, and it seems like not really very close to being enough. So I mean, I like saying that. So they purge one of my 2 airships. I guess we might as well crew. And then they purge the other one. Okay. Airship is so unbelievable. The amount of value you get from it in these matchups, it's just so wild that this card outgrinds outgrounds MH3 value deck. While still feeling like it just has plenty of counters to it. You know, this is a card that can get worse if people start playing stuff like Hercule's Recall, Echoing Truth, that kind of stuff. Okay, so I have the Young Wolf loop, but I boarded out my spider. Now you don't really need the spider in these kind of games. I guess should be fine. If they surveil Flage into the yard, we're not really gonna have a window to stop that anyways. Just get in for max damage and then. I don't know if you can hear my wife singing in the background. She just got home. Yeah, I think we'll just go Shockland Airship. I think that'll end things quick. All right, 2-0. Gonna go say hi to my wife. See you in round 3. Bye bye. Okay, we are on the play for round 3. My opponent mulled to 5. I was on a phone call, so it took me like 4 minutes to actually get started here. But we're here for round 3. If we win this one and the next 2, we do qualify for the Modern Showcase, which is very hype. I'm gonna go ahead and keep lane number 3 here, of course. Gonna thank my opponent for their patience here. Opponent plays Arid Mesa Go. Now, the last I looked at their Goldfish username while I was on the phone, and they had been gaming a lot with Storm. Now, Storm is admittedly a very scary matchup. We're not too far away from comboing, thankfully, although we probably can't combo till turn 4. They bowled to 5. I did add a couple damping spheres and an extra Thoughtseize to the sideboard to try to hedge a little bit for the matchup, for whatever that's going to be worth. Um, I guess I'm going to take the Grazer, so I've got extra things to sacrifice to the Yawg, and then we can go ahead and get a basic swamp and then cast the Cauldron, and then we can Cauldron the Arbor onto the Grazer, and I think I'll just go ahead and play another Grazer here. Is this not supposed to work? I don't think I've ever Cauldroned a Dryad Arbor before. I I felt really confident that Cauldroning a Dryad Arbor would give this the ability to tap for green. I guess it's not, but it has. Okay, wait, no. So this is like a. I guess it just doesn't have the tap for green ability. I guess let me know in the comments if that is not is if this is how it's supposed to work. I really should have grabbed the land instead of the arbor. They reckless impulse and the striker rich and Manamorphose. And then we green sun into and we draw green sun zenith. And an unhelpful green sun zenith too. So like we're now in a spot where next turn we could have like gone, or this turn we could have gone Yawg, and then we could have gone Green Sun for Young Wolf. I guess we would have been maybe a little bit farther away from getting there. Seems like I'm just gonna Green Sun for a. I guess I could get Hepatra. No, we just need to get the Cub so we can cast the Yawg next turn and then start digging. Get in for 1 again. I really thought that I did Cauldron a Dryad Arbor, but and to where I did something, but I guess you learn something new every day, and this is a bad time to be learning something new. So here comes the Manamorphose. 3 cards in their hand, now 4. You know, if we just die here, we were gonna lose this turn anyways. Whatever that's worth. Another Manamorphose. And a Desperate Ritual and a Ruby Medallion. Plays the Striker Rich, which is definitely a sign of weakness. Then plays the Ruby Medallion. So obviously we want to be thinking about Past in Flames with the Cauldron here. Seems like I just actually want to go after their draw 2s. With them having so much mana available. So let's cast a Yawgmoth. Let's attack for 3. Let's see if we draw a land off the Grazer Sacrifice. Do not. All right, probably just I gotta pass it back, unfortunately. This me not understanding how this worked really cost us. Okay, so they play a Sunbaked Canyon. They have a Desperate Ritual in the Exile Zone. They'll be playing it no matter what, at least to get in the yard for Past in Flames, although them sacking the Sunbaked Canyon first is good news for us. They go ahead and splice a Desperate Ritual, which means they got more stuff to do. Glimpse for 1 mana, which finds them a Ral, and it finds them a Rin's Resolve. Now, because I sacked the Grazer, I don't have enough creatures to kill the Ral. Maybe that was a mistake as well, but I was really trying to fish for a land to play. They had a Manamorphose and a Ritual off of the Impulse. We know that they have another Ritual in their hand too. Oh, they go ahead and immediately flash back the Strike It Rich. So maybe I should have targeted that with the Cauldron to deny the 7th spell. Definitely could be playing tighter here. They go ahead and ultimate the Rao. Not that, this couldn't have happened anyways, but maybe they just didn't have another spell. Maybe they would have just drawn a land off the Manamorphose. Hard to tell. Tough game. So they ultimate the Rao. Off the Rao, they hit 2 Reckless Impulses, a Glimpse, and a Wish. It's going to be pretty tough to beat that. And an Artist Talent. Maybe they'll show us an interesting card off of Wish. Yeah, I'm just fishing for info here. We're gonna lose this game, but it's possible we get to see more of the deck and see if there's any weirdness going on. Which again, not usually all that valuable, but every percentage point matters at these like really high stakes matches. I don't think we would have been fast enough here. I think that I think with the cards, it doesn't look like we would have been able to assemble the spider into Young Wolves if we had played the Yawg the turn previously. Maybe I'm wrong about that. All right, at this point, it seems like we're probably not going to get shown anything besides just a Grape Shot. Wait, did they discard Grape Shot? Oh, they impulse into one. So I think that's probably okay. Point to scoop it up. I'm bringing the Thoughtseizes. I'm bringing 2 Damping Spheres. Now, I do actually feel like playing a game where killing their Mana Dorks is good. This is something that I did earlier when I played this matchup. Although the thing was, I had some Force of Vigors in the sideboard, and so I had Force of Vigor to combat the rubies and the Artist Talent. And I had some Fatal Pushes for the Rouse. Now I just have a Beseiju for the Artist Talent stuff. So it's possible this isn't the angle we want to combat anymore. Like we also have Grist for Rao. Do you think we want to cut the airships in this matchup? The Patra combos with the spider, I think that's going to be a fine one to still have. The endurances are really good. The cauldrons are kind of weird. I actually had cauldron be really good as like graveyard hate for me when I played the matchup earlier, but for the most part, it's not very good to help combo or disrupt. Like it isn't very good disruption. It's sometimes okay disruption. I did have it be okay disruption. I feel like I would like to play a couple fatal pushes still, maybe even 3. But let's go and try to play 2. I think I'd like to maybe go down a couple cubs. I like that Rumble digs for the spheres. I guess I'll play just 1 Grist and just have the green sun for it since I have the pushes in. Yeah, and then could maybe cut a green sun. Guess that makes comboing harder. All right, let's run this. Glad I brought the damping spheres with me. This just seems like a popular enough deck and kind of a tough matchup. Do I want to get Dryad Arbor here turn 1? I'm gonna click the keep button before I decide that, I guess. Notably, our Phyrexian towers get turned off by our own damping sphere. I think I will get Dryad Arbor turn 1. I think the mana taxing of the sphere is going to incentivize me to just put myself in a spot where my top decks are a bit better, where my mana is less restricted. We also can go next turn damping sphere. And we can surveil off the heath, and then we can play the swamp and have the ability to cast a Yawgmoth. Although we have no airships left in the deck to worry about either. I think you only board out airship against Storm and Titan, or if there's another super fast combo deck like this, but not really a lot of those in the metagame these days. Okay, after a couple minutes, my opponent plays an Elegant Parlor, and then they keep a card on top. We draw an Endurance, definitely not a bad top deck. Gonna play the Sphere. Could have attacked for one, but I certainly think the Surveil is better than that. They play a Ruby Medallion. Thank you, Surveil lands. Yikes. I guess I take the Grazer. Just because it's a creature that can sack to Yawgmoth. And let's attack for one. I think I don't want to cast the Endurance end of turn right this turn. I think being able to get rid of the graveyard is valuable. We can still pitch cast the Endurance and okay, that's a dead Damping Sphere. We can still pitch cast the Endurance and if we somehow become really desperate, like it's looking like we might be. This card is an Arid Mesa. Rinse resolves into Prismatic Ending and another Reckless Impulse. 2 cards in hand. They mulliganed? Dang. So they had a Valakut Awakening and a Pyretic Ritual. They discarded an Arid Mesa to the Artist Talent. This time they do not discard to the Pyretic Ritual, which means they have 2 good cards in hand. This is one of them. They hit the Past in Flames. So good news, we drew the Endurance, I guess. Now, I didn't bring in the Culling Rituals because it's so bad with the Damping Spheres. But maybe it's possible you still leave them in. So right now, Past in Flames cost 3 mana, so they're not quite able to effectively use it this turn. I think, don't they have a land they can play too? Plays the Wooded Foothills. Maybe he's going to Prismatic Ending the Spawn token. Okay, cast Valakut Awakening first. So maybe just as a 3 mana draw 1 or 2 mana draw 1, I guess. Then Manamorphose. This was probably the card they were holding on to, but if that's the case, I think they should have played it first. They did not want to discard either of their cards. They do make a white mana. It's like isn't it definitely wrong to kill the the spawn token? I feel like you would just want to you just want to hold the Prismatic Ending in case I have another Damping Sphere. All right, don't hate drawing a Fatal Push, honestly. Sorry, I accidentally clicked Yield to All. Oh, that was almost a disaster. I was trying to play fast, so maybe my opponent would like discard a good card to flash back with the Past in Flames. It's kind of a silly, I guess. They can maybe play an instant in response to this and still flash some stuff back. Bummer. Discards a ruby medallion. So now this is just a ritual. Or they have just a ritual off the Past in Flames, and then 2 cards in hand with a lot of selection over that card because of the artist, or those cards because of the artist talent. Thankfully, we drew the push. Wow, they have a wish. So let's push this now. They've got 1 mana. Storm count is 6. They flash back the Past in Flames to try to win the flip. They lost the flip, thankfully. Unthankfully, I guess, they now have 3 mana for the wish. So they could get like Empty the Warrens if that's in their sideboard. That would probably get the job done. Maybe not if I drew like a Yawgmoth. They could Grape Shot and just kill my stuff. They do have the Empty the Warrens. Kind of a fun way to lose, I guess, as far as about as fun as ways to lose can be. Green set for Obelisk Spider would be kind of funny here. Well, we're gonna do our best. Our best probably won't be good enough, unfortunately. Does seem like a tough matchup. Tried to compensate with the sideboard, maybe didn't compensate enough. Although we had the Damping Sphere and we died on on turn 5. Not really any outs. Maybe I don't know how much like Culling Ritual can play into the sideboard plan. Wow, they hit Manamorphose Past in Flames. I guess they can't Past in Flames here though. But they still have the Past in Flames in the yard. They drew the ritual off the Manamorphose, so I guess like we were kind of always doomed here. We can't win. We just have no outs, especially because they have more Empty the Warrens at the very least coming through. Actually, they just have the Grape Shot for lethal here. So that's our run. Just you lose one of these and you are out. 2-1. 2 round wins, I guess 3 round wins short of qualifying. That's okay. We'll try next time. Thank you for watching. It's been fun recording these YouTube videos. I get to be very focused and give y'all just the action. Let me know if you like this format. I think right now I just want to reserve it for the showcase events. It feels like this is the appropriate time to be doing the YouTube recordings. That might change. Maybe I'll expand it. Maybe I'll do some other stuff. But I'm having more fun doing this than I have historically. So that's nice. See you next time. Bye.